All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started a little early here, but I figure I'll knock out some of the Futato exercises. If anybody shows up in the chat, we'll stop whenever, address any questions you have, but I'm going to go ahead and start going through here. This section A, we're looking at the cal active participle, and again, the primary thing that you're looking for the most part, most of these forms are going to be pretty obvious. You're going to have a holum vowel in R1, and then you're going to have your noun slash adjective endings on the end. So when you see the eam and the oat, these are going to be pretty straightforward. The feminine singular is a little bit different, but this segel tav, this is a very, especially when you've got the holum theme vowel in R1, this is a pretty easy to recognize indication of a participle. So if you've got holum in R1, segel tav, hirik yod mem, holum vav tav, these are pretty obvious signs that you've got a participle. The really honestly tricky one is going to be the masculine singular because you don't have a suffix. But again, you'll have the holum in R1 or holum vav sometimes. And then because you don't have any suffixes added, you've got a sere theme vowel. So this OA, this OA pattern, holum sere pattern, is what's going to tell you that you've got an active participle in the masculine singular form. In all these other forms, you've got suffixes added that make them look like, well, I guess feminine singular, this isn't exactly what a noun or adjective looks like. You usually have comments, hey, here. But between that holum or holum vav R1 vowel and these endings, it should be pretty clear that you're looking at a participle. Now, we're just talking cal right now. When we get into the other patterns or stems like the PL and HIFIL and all that, there will be other things aside from a holum vowel in R1. There will be other things to point to that will make it obvious that you've got a participle. But participles generally are pretty easy to recognize, and honestly, the cal is one of the more difficult. So if you can recognize the cal participle, you really shouldn't have too much trouble with the other participles. All right, so we see the OA vowel pattern here. This is going to obviously be masculine singular. We've got the segel tav pattern here. When we've got a holum R1 vowel in front of that, that's going to be the feminine singular participle. You'll remember that segel tav is a pattern that you see in your one yod vav infinitive constructs. But in that case, you don't have the R1, which would be a yod in that case. You don't have the R1 letter with the holum. That's going to be the difference here. But the segel tav pattern shows up both in the feminine singular active participle in the cal and in the infinitive construct form of a one yod vav verb. All right, so we got feminine singular here. Number 3, we've got clearly masculine plural, but we still see our holum. So overim. Number 4, we've got, again, our holum vowel with the holum vav tav ending. So sho lechot. Number 5, we've got sholeach. This patach here is only here because of the chet. These gutturals really prefer to have an A-class vowel, and so this is what we call the furtive patach, kind of sneaks in there, but we've still got our holum, or holum vav in this case, R1 vowel, and our sere theme vowel, that OA pattern that tells us that we've got a masculine singular, even though we've got that patach there, that's just because of the chet. All right, so we've got a masculine singular from shalach. Number 6, we've got no sate here. No sate. All right, now the issue here is this could give you some trouble. I want you to recognize that you've got the holum here in R1 to help you out. Without that, you might think that this is a noon prefix on an imperfect or something like that. If you didn't know that these were all active participles, this could give you some trouble. But let me explain what's going on here. This is just the verbal root nasa, okay? And this is feminine singular. We would normally have a segel, segel, tav. You can see the tav here. What happens is when you get this aleph in here, and it's closing that short unaccented syllable, this was a segel. And we wanted a segel here. But when the aleph is closing this syllable, the problem is it quiesces, which means it can't hold its own vowel. So the segel drops out altogether under the aleph. Then as a result, since we've lost that segel and aleph can't close this syllable, we're going to lengthen the first segel to a sere. Alright, so this is that feminine singular segel, segel, tav pattern. It's just the aleph here has thrown a wrench into the works. It's made it difficult because we lose one segel and the other, that first segel, actually lengthens to a sere. Alright, so this is feminine singular from nasa, but it is a little tricky to recognize there. Number 7, here we have bana, but again in a third hey, when we add a vocalic suffix, that third hey is going to drop out. And so we get the holam vav R1 vowel, and then we've got the hirik yod mem ending, so this is masculine plural. Number 8, boka, alright, so this is a little bit tricky. And I actually need to look up what's going on here. My first hunch is that this is probably, I can't tell you honestly without looking whether this is masculine singular or feminine singular, because this comet's hey here, obviously that is often indicative of feminine singular, but baka is a comet's hey verb, and so I want to say that in the masculine singular this is actually going to shift to a segel hey, making this feminine singular, but I honestly don't know that off the top of my head. So let's go look at our answers. We are in lesson 21A, number 8. So let's see what we can find here. 21A, number 8, feminine singular. Okay, so my guess is that if this were masculine singular, you would see the segel hey here. All right, and let's actually see if we can prove that. I'm going to try to find, oh, that's not what I want. Can I pull up a search? There we go. All right, I'm going to do a morphology search. I'm going to look for my verb, which is bait, cough, hay. Okay, I want that. And I want it at verb, cal, participle, and basically I want masculine singular. Let's see what I can find. Alright, here we go. So bouquet. So that masculine singular is going to shift to the segel hey. That's how you're going to tell the difference there. Alright, so feminine singular on boka. Alright, let's go back to 21 here. Okay, so boka, that is feminine singular. Number 9, similar situation, we have gala, which would be comet's hey, but here we clearly have the holam vav tav suffix, so this is going to be feminine plural. And of course our holam vav R1 vowel fits the participle. And then number 10, here's an example of a comet's hey verb, third hey verb. This is masculine singular because it has the segel hey ending rather than the comet's hey. So ro'eh is going to be, seeing or seeing one or seer or something like that. All right, section B here. We're going to focus on, you'll want to translate these in your own exercises, obviously, but we're going to focus on the function as well. So, Hamelech Hayoshev, this would be the king dwelling, or the king that dwells, the king who dwells. This is attributive. Both the noun and its modifier have definite articles. They're both definite. Number 2, Melech still has a definite article, but Yoshev does not. So this is going to be the king is dwelling. All right. Now you could do was dwelling, but here we're saying present progressive is fine since there's no context. So the king is dwelling. All right. This is still an adjective. This is a verbal adjective. And so this becomes a verbless clause. The king is dwelling. So dwelling is an adjective that describes the king. He is dwelling. Number 3, we have yoshve. Okay, this sere yod ending here, this is the construct ending. So because it's construct, this has to be substantival. Adjectives that are functioning as adjectives, the construct is something that happens between nouns. And so this has to be a participle that's functioning substantively, so that it has that nominal function where it can be in construct, okay? So you can basically count on any time you see a participle with a construct ending, that's going to be a substantival function, all right? So that means this is something like those dwelling, or the ones dwelling, or the ones who dwell of the city. So that would be the dwellers of the city, or the inhabitants might be how you translate this, okay? It's important to note this is not saying those dwelling in the city. There's no preposition here. This is the dwellers, or the inhabitants that belong to the city, okay? This is not locative. This is genitival. This is a construct relationship. So those who are dwelling, those who do dwell, as relates to the city, not in the city. Don't translate this as those dwelling in the city. There is no preposition here. The inhabitants of the city is probably what I would use. All right, so that is substantival. Number 4, anachnu. So here's our pronoun, ochelim. All right? Pronoun is definite by nature. A pronoun refers to a specific individual, okay? Ochelim does not have an article, so it is indefinite. That means this is predicative. Predicatival? Let's see. Predicative. All right, so anachnu, we, eating, so we are eating would be the translation. And this would be, again, predicative. All right, number 5, we've got hine, anachnu, ochelim. Look, we are eating. I feel like I'm missing something here. There's got to be more to it than that. Does he talk about what's going on with the hine here? Really just okay. Oh, about to. Gotcha. Okay, so we are about to eat would be how you would translate this. That's a different function of the hene particle. So hene sometimes is attention getting, sometimes it's sort of like an anticipatory particle. So he's saying you would translate this as we are about to eat. And again, that would be predicative. Number 6, we've got ha'avadim bonim. All right. So bonim here, this is from bana. Third hay drops its hay. Then you got a vocalic suffix. So bonim is going to be building. It is indefinite. The participle is indefinite. Ha'avadim, that is definite. So that mismatch in definiteness is going to indicate that it is predicative. This would be the servants are building. All right, number 7, we've got ha-avadim, ha-bonim. So here we've got our article. They match, and so this would be the servants who are building, or the building servants, or something like that. All right, number 8, we have ha'em bocha. Ha'em bocha. Ha'em is definite, bocha is indefinite, so the mother is weeping, predicative. And then ha'em yotzeit. Okay, so this is that other situation. Whenever you see sere aleph tav, go ahead and put that in the feminine singular participle, I should say calactive participle, feminine singular calactive participle category with segel segel tav. All right, this is that situation again where we would have two segels, but the aleph quiesces, so it loses its vowel, and then the first segel lengthens to compensate, so you get this sere aleph tav. Yotzeit comes from yatsa, and yatsa is like to come forth or to come out. So this would be, again, we've got a definite article on mother. Yotzeit is not definite, so this is predicative. The mother is coming forth or coming out. And then number 10, shofet. So shofet is actually often treated as a noun. It is a participle. It's an adjective that describes someone who judges, so the judging one. But often shofet just means judge. Okay, the judge is the judging one. It is the one who judges. So shofet, we've got a construct here. So this is, since it's a construct, we know it's substantival. So shofet ha reshaim, judge of the wicked. Now remember, in a construct, your construct is going to match the definiteness of your absolute. And so here what we actually have is two adjectives. Shofet is a verbal adjective, a participle, and rasha is an adjective, but it is also substantival. Wicked ones. So we have the judge of the wicked ones, and this would be substantival. All right, so that's section B. Let's look at C here, focusing on possessive suffixes. All right, so Hirik Yod is 1 CS. This would be my light. The Shava Kaf Kametz, 2 MS. So this would be 2U, singular, masculine. This is a preposition. El Lecha, maybe this is God, actually. Yeah, El Lecha would be to you. So El Lecha would be your God. Zero Otecha. Zero A, I think is, Zera is seed or descendant. Zero Ot, maybe this is just the plural form of Zera. Either way, the Segel Yod matches the plurality of the noun, and then we've got masculine singular. So I'm going to say this is something like your descendants or your generation, but I need to check on Zeroot on what that means. 21C. Oh, Zeroah, that's right. Zerah is seed or descendant. Zeroah is arm. Okay, so your arms. Let's see here. All right, so number 4, we have kolah. Kol is voice. It's singular. There's no yod here, so this would be her voice. This is a 3FS suffix. Koleha, now we get that yod in here. So this is going to be her voices or her sounds. All right, mishpachtam. This is going to be mishpacha. Mishpacha, but when we add the suffix, that hey is going to transform into a tav. This is not the, well, okay, couple things here. First of all, you can account for the tav as sort of a hardened hay that allows a suffix, or you can see this tav as the feminine singular construct. Okay, so either way, we've got a singular word. This is not a tav as in a holam vav tav. This is not plural. Mishpacha is singular. Mishpachat is singular. This is family, and then the am is their family. All right, here we have mishpachotehem. It's probably mishpachotehem. Mishpachotehem is going to be their families. All right, we've got that ot and the sereyod here. Number 8, davari. Davari is going to be davar with the hirik yod, so this would be my word. Davarai is going to be my words. Remember, the patak yod is the 1 CS form that gets used with plural nouns. Number 10, we've got zevach, so sacrifice. But here we've got ziv chechem. So ziv che is going to be masculine plural. As you can tell by the sereh yod, that's an indication or a reminder as well that we've got a construct here. So ziv chechem is going to be your masculine plural, your sacrifices. All right, number 11, we've got sifro. Sifro is from sefer. Sefer is book, so this is going to be his book. 12, we've got Sepharav. Even though this looks like Sephariv, this usually gets pronounced as Sepharav, as if the yod weren't there. But the yod vav, this is what we use when we've got a plural noun. So this is going to be his books, or scrolls. Number 13, we've got Melachenu. Melachenu, this is going to be Melech, rather. And the sereh yod indicates plural noun. So we've got our kings. Is that right? I think that's right. And so what's the difference between 13 and 14? I would say that this one here, Alkanu. When does the dagish appear? When does it not appear? Oh, well, here it appears just because we've got... So this is going to be... I guess this is just the singular form is the only difference? Yeah. Okay, so here we've got our kings, and this must be our king. Let's double check that. 21D, or C, I guess. Yeah, our kings and then our king. Okay, fair enough. All right. Number 15, we've got ain. Ain is the construct form of ayin, which is like spring. I don't think that's the season spring. That's the spring like a water spring. Or, and I mean, that's a hole in the ground, hole, like that's how and let me restate this. Basically, ayin means eye. And when they see a hole in the ground that lets water out, they kind of refer to a spring as an eye. Okay, so ayin, that word for eye is the word they use for a spring in the ground. This is the construct form of ayin, ain, and then the eich is going to be her eye. Yeah, ayin eich, not ayin eich, or some. I forget how. Oh, here we go. This is the form, her eyes. So her eye, number 15. Her eyes, number 16. All right. So section D. I'll just go through this like I normally would. Here we've got just a perfectly regular, almost strong Cal Perfect 2MP. We'd expect a Shavah here. Because of the guttural, we get a Hatef Patach. Number 2, we've got a cal imperfect 1CS as indicated by the olive. It's basically regular, except imperfect often has a patak or a holum. Well, we have a comets because of the olive. It's open, it can't close, and so you get a long vowel here. I guess Futato calls this a medium vowel. But number 3, we've got yetain. So this is simply the cal imperfect 3ms form of natan. You can see that the noon has assimilated into the tav, and natan takes a sere theme vowel in the imperfect. Number 4, we have gala as our root. The third hey takes a hiric yod connecting vowel when we add a consonantal suffix. So galinu is going to be the cal perfect 1CP form. Shafot, this is from Shafat, he judged, but we've got, basically, we're missing our imperfect prefix, and so this is going to be the infinitive construct form. I suppose it's possible that this could be imperative 2ms. I think they would look the same. So let's take a look. 21D, number 5. Yeah, he's saying it's just infinitive construct, so I'm wondering what the imperative... maybe the imperative would just be a patak here. I'm not sure why that couldn't be both. Oh, we haven't... Maybe we haven't done imperative yet. Maybe that's why. Oh, yeah. Okay. We haven't gotten to the imperative yet. I get confused on what gets covered when, because I'm teaching a first semester Hebrew and a second semester Hebrew at the same time. So, let's see here. D, number 5. All right, here we've got shomrim. Again, we've got our hiric yod mem suffix with an O class R1 vowel. This is going to be cal active participle masculine plural from shamar. Number 7, we have benot. So here we've got a third hey in the infinitive construct takes a holum vav tav. You might think, well, why couldn't this be the feminine plural suffix of the cal active participle bana? The reason is we don't have the holum R1 vowel. Okay, we have the shava R1 vowel, which is the difference between a cal active participle feminine plural of bana and a cal infinitive construct of bana. Now, number 8, here we've got that holum. So this one is the participle, cal active participle feminine plural. Number 9, we've got ye redu. Ye redu. We've sort of got our sere pattern here that we expect to see on the imperfect form of a one yod vav. But in order to make room for the extra syllable added by the shuric ending, we've had to reduce that second sere to a shava. So what we've got here is this yod is actually our prefix. So we've got a cal imperfect 3MP form of yarad. So yod sere is our prefix. R1 yod has dropped out altogether, and then we get our shuric suffix. Number 10, excuse me, we've got shevet. Shevet, again, we've got the segel tav pattern that is indicative either of an infinitive construct of a one yod vav, which is what this is, yeshav, or it's indicative of a feminine singular cal active participle, but in that case we would still have our R1 vowel, or sorry, our R1 letter, which we do not have here. Nor do we have the holum that would go with that R1 letter. And so that's how we know this is infinitive construct of a one yod vav rather than a feminine singular cal active participle. All right, so that's D. Looking at E, we'll go with the longest one here. Looks like that's going to be number 7. So again, in a Hebrew sentence, I'm going to start off expecting that my first word is a verb. That will help me parse. If it's not, I can adjust. I'm going to start off, nizkor is a verb. Well, looking at nizkor, if this is a verb, how many letters is a verb supposed to have in Hebrew? A root, that is. Supposed to have 3, I have 4. So what's extra? Is resh a common suffix? No. So resh is probably part of the root. Is nun a common prefix? Yes. Nun is the 1CP prefix in the cow imperfect. So we've got a perfect explanation for this. Nizkor would be zachar in the cow perfect 1CP. So zachar is he remembered. Nizkor would be we will remember. We don't have a subject explicitly mentioned here. We don't need one because nizkor means we will remember. So we will remember what? Et Torat. Et Torat. Now you may be asking yourself, wait a minute. Et is the definite direct object marker, and Torat does not have a definite article. What's going on here? Well, what you'll realize is Torat is actually the construct form, feminine singular construct form of Torah. And a construct never has the definite article, even when it's definite. So we have to find the absolute of this construct Torah. Let's go to the next word and we get Eloheinu. Okay, Eloheinu is definite. Is it the absolute? It is. We would usually determine the absolute by whether or not it has the article. And there is no article here, even though it's definite. But we can't. This next one can't be our absolute because we have a vav. And that vav is not going to intercede, I suppose, between or within a construct chain. I don't think. I don't think that's going to happen. So Eloheinu has to be our absolute. So Torat Eloheinu would be we will remember the law or the instruction of Eloheinu, our God. Now, this is a plural form, our gods, but that's because Elohim is a plural form. And so we only need to translate this plural in as much as we would translate Elohim plural. There needs to be context that tells us whether or not this should be plural. So should this be the law of our gods or the law of our God? Well, if it's Torah, it's probably referring to the God of Israel. And so I would translate this as the law or the instruction of our God. And Mishpatav, and so we will remember the instruction of our God and his Mishpatim, his judgments, La'olam, forever, or forever, for eternity, forever. Ki, because Tovim, good are they, because they are good. You know that this is predicative because, one, the adjective precedes the noun / pronoun that it modifies, and two, pronouns are always definite, but here tovim is indefinite, so the definiteness does not match, therefore they are predicative. So we will remember the instruction of our God and his judgments forever. Now, Futato puts forever over here. We remember forever. We remember his... And that's fine because forever modifies remember. So it's fine to put it there in your English translation. We will remember forever the instruction or law of our God and his judgments because they are good. All right. And then F here. Let's just go with Joshua 23:14. Let me pull up my Hebrew text. I think, was it? Yeah, 24:13. All right, so we'll just read through this whole thing. I know that he only gives us a chunk here, but this will give us a chance to look at some stuff maybe we haven't seen before. All right, so we've got va attain, va attain. All right, so the vav here has a kametz. That is because we've got. I'm pretty sure that this is a verb. Yeah. Okay, so my first thought is attain. Is this the you pronoun, feminine singular? That's often atena, but I can't remember if it's. Well, first of all, it wouldn't have a segel. It would have a patach here. Where we usually will get a aleph plus segel is in the imperfect prefix. And that's what this is. We've actually got natan here. The noon has assimilated into the tav. So this is I will give. Now, we haven't done the vav relative yet, I don't think anyways. But this is probably a vav relative. That's why we've got a kametz here instead of a shavah. This is a particular form of the vav that basically it's used in narrative, I guess would be the best way to put it. So what it's going to do is it's actually going to give us, best way to describe this, it's going to use the opposite conjugation of what it would normally use. So here we've got imperfect. That would usually describe future time. With this particular particle on the front, this actually now describes past time. So instead of I will give, we're going to translate this I have given. Lachem, this is lamed preposition with chem, you. I have given to you a land. Which, not yagata. Okay, so yaga, this looks like a root. Ta tells me this is perfect, so I don't have to worry about a prefix over here. So I'm going to say that the root is yaga. Now, I don't know what that root means, so if I look it up in my lexicon, kal means to grow weary, to labor, or to struggle, or to strive for. So, where am I at here? There we go. Which you did not work, you did not labor over, basically. I have given you a land which you did not strive for. You did not strive for on it or in it, in that land. The 3fs suffix here referring back to the land. And arim, this is the plural form of cities, so I have also given you cities which you did not build. Benitem is the Cal Perfect 2MP of Banal. Cities which you did not build. And Teshvu, okay? Teshvu here is probably, I want to say this is a, we've got this Vav relative over here again. I want to say this is an imperfect prefix. Why do we have the sere here? This would be the sere pattern. This is from Yeshav, the one yod vav. Okay? So Yeshav, Teshavu would be masculine plural second person. Yeshav is dwell. So cities which you did not build and dwell in them. So here, the function of this Vav relative, this is almost a And you have, okay, so, and you have dwelled in them. It's almost like this is a result clause rather than another, um, like a separate idea. So I think it's less, I have given you cities which you did not build and you dwelt in them. I think it's more, I gave you cities which you did not build in order that you dwell in them, in order that you might dwell in them. I think that's more what's going on here. Karamim. Okay, so my first thought is Kaf Resh Mem a root? Or is Kaf here a preposition? And Ramam or something. Ram would be the... So I'm not sure what this is. So my first thought would be to go look up Kaf Resh Mem in my lexicon. Now I'm going to double click this and it's going to pull up the true root and we'll see whether that's Kaf Resh Mem or something else. So yes, Karam. Okay, so Karam, that is familiar. That's the idea of a vineyard. So I have given you a land which you did not work in it, in which you did not work, and cities which you did not build in order that you might dwell in them. Vineyards and Zaytim. That one I don't know either. This is olive, so maybe olive trees? Yeah, the olive or the olive tree. Zayit, Zaytim would be the plural. I also gave you vineyards and olive trees, which Tem, you did not, and then Natah. Well, just from context, we can probably tell that Natah means something like plant. So let's pull up Natah here. Cal, yeah, to plant. All right. So I have given you a land in which you did not work, and cities which you did not build, in order that you might dwell in them, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, Atem Ochelim. Atem here is you all, R-E, okay, so there's sort of a, I would put a period here after this. I have given you a land in which you did not work, on which you did not work, and cities which you did not build in order that you may dwell in them. Period. Vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, you are eating. So you are eating from vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. All right, there we go. So let's go back here. All right, that'll be it. F, that's the last one. So if you have any questions or anything over any of this or anything else for the week, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.